Uh, Without waiting
Good
any
morning,
wasting
sir.
any time. Good morning, sir. Morning, sir. Without wasting any time, I would like to start this session by brushing on few points on taxation, accounting, and audit, as requested by David sir. And I also thank David sir for giving this opportunity. So I think I'll go first taxation, then accounting, and then audit. So first, I would like to brush on few points because these points will take on hours together if I go in depth. But I will just brush on the main topics. And as and when I go, if you have any doubts on taxation, accounting, or audit, you just go on and ask it. Whatever I can clear the doubts, I'll clear it right away. First, I will go into taxation. In India, the taxation is broadly divided into two parts. One is the direct tax, and second is indirect tax. Direct tax is something where the tax burden is on the person who has received the income. That means if I have earned the income, I have to pay the tax. The only example in direct tax is income tax. There was wealth tax 4 years back, but central government removed that wealth tax. They are planning of implementing it in from 23, 24 onwards. So direct tax in India, there is only one, that is income tax. Indirect tax, the tax burden is shifted onto the other party. Usually it falls on the customer or the consumer and not the person who has received the income. For example, for that is when we go to a restaurant, we will be paying GST on it, wherein the person who's earning the income is the restaurant owner, but the person who's paying the tax would be the person who's consumed it. So that is indirect tax. There are a lot of indirect tax like GST, excise, state excise. So that all comes under indirect tax. Now this is the type of tax. The type of tax is direct tax and indirect tax. But collection of taxes is divided between state government and central government. State government collects income tax, GST, customs, excise on imports. That all goes to central government. State government previously, before 2017, state government used to collect VAT. But once the GST came into picture, that completely went into the control of the central government. So now the central government collects the tax and distributes the tax to the state government. So even the indirect tax which the state government used to collect before 2017, now it has gone to the central government. Now state government collects only two taxes. One is the state excise that usually they collect it on the liquor, and then there is municipal taxes. And this is the reason now we see in all televisions and the news channels that state government says that we have not received the GST amount from the central government, because from 2017 onwards, all the taxes, indirect taxes, the central government only collects and distributes it to the state government half yearly. And just one fact, our Karnataka state is the state which gives the highest GST in all over India. It's just a fact. Then now coming to, we are mainly concentrating on income tax. So income tax is broadly divided into five parts. So any income earned in India has to fall within this five broad heads. The first head is salary, mostly earned in relation to when there should be a relation between an employer and an employee. If any income is earned in relation with these, then the income will be considered as salary. Then the second broad head income tax is rental income or house property income, where in this the income has to earn from a movable or a immobile property owned or leased. Then the third head in the income tax is business or profession. It is earned through trading or special skills. Usually, we professions as well as pastors, everybody fall under this business or profession. And then the fourth head is capital gains earned through sale of any capital assets like land, jewelry, etc. Other income, any other income which doesn't fall in these four, which I told now, that is salary, house property, business or profession, capital gains, will fall under other income. Example for other incomes are savings account, interest on savings account, interest on FD account. Now even PF interest is taxed if interest is received more than 2.5 lakhs. So income tax is imposed by the central government and governed by CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes, and it is governed under Income Tax Act of 1961. And who all pays tax? It is broadly divided into six. One is the individuals like me, you, everyone. Then is HUF, that is Hindu Undivided Family. Then partnership, that is LLP or even the normal partnership. Then companies, the corporates, association of persons, body of individual, artificial judicial person, trust, societies. So these are the type of taxpayers who pay taxes. And forms, how does the income tax collects the taxes? Basically, they have three ways of collecting it. One is the self-assessment tax. Usually we file the returns by the end of June. So that is the usually due date for filing of returns. That is how we pay self-assessment tax under Form 200. Self-assessment tax is the one of the way of their collecting taxes. Then is the TDS, tax deducted at source. Then is TCS, tax collected at source. These are the three ways they collect taxes. And then there is the way of collecting taxes by scrutiny, assessments. That is because basically these are the three ways of collecting taxes. That comes later after we file the returns. Now coming to the tax rates. Tax rates now from last assessment year, the tax rates has been divided into two regimes. That is the old regime and the new regime. The old regime is where individuals, HUF, artificial association of person, body of individual, artificial judicial person, the trust, everybody falls under this. This is the slab for the old regime. Up to 2,50,000, there is no taxes. It is zero. From 2,50,000 to 5 lakh, it is 5%. And from 5 lakh to 10 lakhs, it's 20%. And 10 lakhs and above, it's 30%. This what I'm saying is the old regime. And from 60 to 80 years, for individuals, all artificial judicial person, body of individual, association of lakhs to 5 lakhs, it's 5%. And 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it's 20%. And 10 lakhs and above, it's 30%. And under the old regime, individuals above 80 years, up to 5 lakhs, it's exempted. 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it's 20%. And above 10 lakhs is 30%. Over and above this, there is something called a surcharge and cess, which is charged by the central government. Surcharge goes like this: 10% of the income tax when the total income exceeds 50 lakhs. 15% income tax when the total income exceeds 1 crore, 25% of income tax when the total income exceeds 2 crores, and 37% of the income tax when the total income exceeds 5 crores. This surcharge is charged on the income tax, not on the income. And then health and education says 4% of the income tax and the surcharge. This is common for everyone. Everybody who are paying income tax has to pay 4% of the income tax as education and health cess. Now, this what I was telling you, the slab rates was the old regime. Now coming to the new regime, which was implemented last year, last assessment year. In this one, up to 2,50,000, there is no tax, it's exempted. From 2,50,000 to 5 lakh, it's 5%. And from 5 lakh to 7.5 lakhs, it's 10%. And from 7.5 lakh to 10 lakhs, it's 15%. In the old regime, from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it was 5%. And from 10 lakhs to 12.5 lakhs, it's 20%. And from 2.5 lakhs to 15 lakhs, it's 25%. And 15 lakhs and above, it's 30%. The one difference between the old regime and the new regime, the tax rates, there is a difference. Second point is that you can't take deduction under the Chapter 60 or any other deduction, because in the new regime, they have reduced by 50,000. And that is the reason in the new regime under Section 115BAC, we are not allowed to take the deduction under Chapter 6A or any other deductions. But the problem with the old regime and the new regime is, if anybody follows the new regime, for the next 5 years, they can't opt for the old regime. So they have to stick with the new regime. And usually for the first year, those who are income is less than 15 lakhs, it may be profitable. But from second year onwards or from the third year onwards, once they cross this 15 lakhs, they will pay extra tax of 50,000. So anybody choosing the new regime has to think twice before taking or going ahead with the new regime. So then the surcharge remains same for old regime as the new regime. 10% of the income tax if the income exceeds 50 lakhs, 15% of the income tax if the income exceeds 1 crore, 25% of the income tax if the income exceeds 2 crores, and 37% of the income tax if the income exceeds 5 crores. Health and education cess remains same everywhere, 4% of the income tax and surcharge. Then coming to the partnership, what I told now, it's purely on individuals, artificial judicial person, AOPs and BOIs. Now coming to the income tax and the partnership, for partnership, it is a flat 30% on whatever income they have earned. Income, I mean to say, income minus, the income earned by the partnership minus the expenses, whatever the profit they are making on that 30% flat. And for partnership, it's 12% flat. 12% surcharge will be charged if the income exceeds 1 crore. Health and education cess remains 4% for everyone. It's a flat. Now, this is the, and for corporates also, it's 25% under section 115 AB. Previously, it was 30%, 5% rebate. It is given by the central government for corporates. That is something, a bold move the central government has made. They've reduced almost 5%. So this is income tax, and this is the way they are collecting taxes, and this is the tax rates. If anybody have any doubts in relation to this income tax, please let me know now. If you want any examples also, please let me know. I'll give you examples. And any doubts in relation to taxation, you just ask me. So then I'll go to accounting, then later to audit.
They used to take TDS from us in one church when I was a pastor, but now here they don't do. What is it all about, TDS?
Sir, TDS has to be deducted and the churches have to apply for TAN provided their income exceeds 50 lakhs. And collection of TDS and deduction of TDS is voluntary. It becomes compulsory only when their turnover crosses 50 lakhs. I believe in your previous church, maybe their collection was more than 50 lakhs, and the current church where you are there, I think their income collection is less than 50 lakhs. And this is one of the statutory compliances when it comes to accounting and audit. While doing accounting, and if the income of that church has crossed 50 lakhs, it becomes the job of the accountant, the senior pastor, who all are there in the committee. It becomes their responsibility to deduct the TDS and pay the TDS monthly and file the quarterly returns. If they don't do, at the time of audit, we will qualify the report, and that is one of the worst scenarios anybody would face, because once the audit report is qualified, and while filing the returns, if it is filed as a qualified report,
Okay.
then scrutiny cases, assessment cases, these things pop up, and that is, it's like once it starts, it goes on for years together.
All right. Now that we are doing a collective accounting in our conference level, does TDS apply? Because that should be more than 50 lakhs.
Yes, sir. If I look at that point of view, then the TDS applies to all the churches, even though their yearly income is less than 1 lakh.
Okay.
But what happens is, in Sirwar district, and few other districts, their income is hardly 1,000 rupees for the whole year, as per bank statement. As per bank statement, I don't know the ground facts. Ground facts may be different, but whatever detail comes to me, it hardly shows 1,000. How can I impose these churches that you follow all this? Because applying for TAN, maintaining the statutory compliances, filing the returns, paying the taxes, I don't think they could do that. So if we impose that thing everywhere, actually to be a fact, to tell you the fact, it has to be imposed everywhere. But if I see practically, it is not possible.
Okay.
But churches who are capable of doing it, my recommendation is to take it up and do it. It's a process of learning, sir. Because right now, maybe the department is not able to understand how our conference is divided. But I know for a fact in the coming years, they will know, they will understand, and they will not going to leave us.
Okay. Okay. So, all right, you can give a little brief on TDS to all the churches so that, at least we can start thinking about that.
TDS, that's what I told you, sir. So any churches whose income has exceeded 50 lakhs, and most of the churches in Bangalore have increased 50 lakhs, and few churches in Bidar and Gulbarga and one or two churches in Raichur have crossed 50 lakhs. So it's better, it's best for the churches to apply for TAN and get the TAN and deduct the TDS. Now coming to the TDS, sir. Usually TDS is broadly divided into two, because three: salary and contractors. Contractors comes into two. One is the professional, that is 194J, and is a contractors, that is 194C, and the salary comes under 192. So these are the main three sections under which the TDS is divided. This is the usual for our conference. Only usually the TDS falls under only these three sections. 192 is the income on TDS on salaries. Usually what I explained now, till 2,50,000 it is exempted, and from 2,50,000 to 5 lakhs it's 5% in the old regime. So that is a slab where we have to follow. We have to deduct the TDS based on which slab they fall into. If they give us the deductions, then we need not deduct TDS. Usually for salaried people, we can do the tax planning till 10 lakhs without paying any tax, zero tax. So if a person is earning income under the head salary up to 10 lakhs, we can do tax planning and make sure that that person doesn't pay any tax. This is 192. This is the TDS on salary. And then coming to 194J, that is the TDS on professionals. TDS on professional is flat deducted at 10%. It has to be deducted if the payment to any profession crosses 30,000 in a single payment or in a collective payment in a financial year. Like, let's say that one of the churches has paid me 15,000. There is no need of deducting TDS. And the same church has paid me another 10,000. No need to deduct TDS. But again, the third payment, if the church pays me another 10,000, then the limit of 30,000 is crossed. So then they have to collectively deduct the 15,000 which was paid on the first time, and even the 10,000 which was paid on the second time. And when they're paying me the third time, the 10,000, they have to deduct this, the old 25,000 plus this 10,000 totally. And 35,000, they have to deduct 10%, deduct 3,500, and then pay me the balance amount of the 10,000. That is 194J. Then 194C. The limit is 75,000. Recently, they increased it to 1 lakh. Collectively, amount paid to a contractor in a financial year, if it crosses 1 lakh, then they have to deduct at 1% or 2%, whichever they fall into. Usually 1% is deducted on the individuals, individual contractors. 2% is deducted on the companies of partnership. And this is the TDS rates for 194C. 194C is the TDS on contractors. I'll repeat again, 1% is for the individual contractors. 2% is for the partnership firm or any other. It's basically 1% is only for individual, 2% is for everyone. And the
Okay.
limit to deduct 194C TDS on contractors is 75,000 was the previous limit, and now we are following 1 lakh. So these are the basically our churches has to see that only usually it falls under these three only. There is other sections, the brokerage, and it's a very rare cases, very rare cases. I have not seen a single case in the past 4 years in churches falling under the others other than these three sections. So this is TDS, tax deducted at source. Then comes the TCS. This is something where before the money is received into the account, the other party, the third party deducts the TDS on our income. TCS usually happens in the cases where when we purchase the vehicles. So if anybody have purchased a car of more than 10 lakhs, so we will see there is a point of 1% TCS which is collected by the showroom, and then that would reflect in our 26 AS, and when filing the return we can take the rebate of it. So usually TCS is very rare cases in our conference. So basically it's only the taxes and the TDS when it comes to conference. So this is income tax and TDS. Any doubts in relation to taxes, you can ask me, sir. Anybody, right? Because now I'll go to the accounting part. So any doubts, even later also you can ask. There is no hurry. So if everybody are fine with it, then I'll go to the accounting.
Yeah, you can go to accounting. Probably a few questions, if there is anything, we can ask later. Yeah.
Yes. So now coming to the accounting, usually the accounting job falls on the accountant. The first line of defense, if I have to say in finance, is the accountant. So accountant, what the accountant has to do? What is accounting? So accountant has to make sure every transaction is entered in the tally or any software which they're using. Every entry of transaction is to be as per the payment and as per the receipt vouchers and not as per the bank statement. Usually what the accountant do in conference, what I've observed is that whenever I ask for the account statements, they just send me the bank statements. That is completely wrong. Usually what happens in not only churches, any places of business, any place of work, first is something where we make the entries of the payments, make the entries of the payment of receipts. Then we reconcile this payment and receipts in the bank. That is called reconciliation of bank statement. That is called as BRS. Then we see that why this thing is not reflected in the bank, why this thing has not gone through the bank. So that is how the accounting works. But what I've seen in most places, except Bangalore, that they follow bank statement, not the payment vouchers and the receipt voucher basis. Usually what happens whenever they get a tithe or any income, they raise the receipt that they've received the cash of 10,000. They raise a repayment of that 10,000 is spent. It is never recorded in the books at all. It goes off the books. Basically, this is called as concealment of income in the income tax. Usually they send, if the income tax gets one paper of evidence of at least 10,000, that is more than enough for them to send the notice under section 148. Recently, we faced this problem in one of the churches in Bangalore. We sorted it out. So once we get a concealment of income under section 148, the notice under section 148, it's like a wildfire. Once it's lit, it will go on for years to come. It never stops. So my recommendation, my suggestion to all the churches and all the DSS is that please do not leave any transaction please do not leave any transaction without recording it. even though it is 500, even though it is 10 rupees, even though it is 20, please try to put it in the books, try to get it audited, try to get the auditor statements, try to put everything on record. Because what happened, this my recommendation is for the accountants, because at the end of the day, what I have observed is the pastors have not great knowledge in the accounting. What they know is only preaching. They blindly accept whatever the accountant gives, because they trust accountants like anything. So it is a job of the accountants to make sure that all the transaction goes into the tally or whatever software they use. Even in Excel also is no problem, but this transaction has to go into the financial audited statements. Then one recommendation to all these accountants is that they have to prepare the budget, like weekly, monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and yearly, based on the previous data available. Usually, my recommendation for preparing budgets is take the average of the past years, 3 years moving average. Like now this is 22, 23. So 21, 22, 19, 20, and 18, 19. So 18, 19, 19, 20, and 20, sorry, 19, 20, 20, 21, and 21, 22. These 3 years, you take the income divided by 3. So that would be your projection for 22, 23. At the same time, take the expenses of the past 3 years divided by 3. That would become your expenses for 22, 23. Try to prepare a budget for the whole year, then divide it by half year, and make sure that you have a budget every month. And these budgets has to be given to the pastors, senior pastors, the DRs, the finance committee, whatever committee you have in your churches who looks after these finances, because based on these only, the churches can make the projections that how much income they have earned, how much expenses they can incur, and what is the activities they can take in each of the churches. Without budgeting, not only churches, not even any entity can work, because budgeting is the base for everything. Without budget, it's like we are walking blindly on a wire. So budget is the main. Without budget, everything is nothing. Because until the budget comes in, that's why every year everybody looks forward towards the central government budget, because seeing the budget only we understand where India stands. At the same time, seeing the budget only we know that where the church stands. So as to what I've seen, not even a single church in Bangalore, not even a single church in any of the districts has this budget concepts. So this is very important. This is I even told Bishop sir to implement this budgeting thing everywhere. Budget is something where which shows the state where the churches are there right now, what we can do to improve. So budgeting is very, very, very important, and these accountants have to take care of it, and even the pastors have to impose. These accountants have to prepare these budgets. My recommendation is that at least prepare the budget monthly, quarterly, and half yearly. So once you prepare budget for the yearly, then you can divide it by 12 months and say that this month this is the expenses and this is the income. So we are falling short of this. That you can keep a record of it. Then coming to the next part is the record maintenance. Accountants are the responsible person for the recording maintenance of records. Basically, there are two records. One is the payments and the receipts. Payments are something wherein the bills, invoices, then the payment vouchers. And receipts usually there is only one, the receipts vouchers. So these things are very important. Payments, so what I've seen in the audit, while doing the audit in the churches, I've seen they've collected quotations as the bills. I've seen on a piece of paper, they have scribbled something and said that this is paid for this. This is paid for something. That is not accepted bills or accepted invoices in the income tax. They say this is something suspicious. This is something malpractices practiced by the accountants or by the churches. So my recommendation, if they are making any payment of more than 1,000 rupees, I recommend them to take a proper bill and signed by the proper authority, usually the person who signs the checks on that paper, and then pay the payment voucher. And receipts, any receipt, even if you have received cash, please make sure that you tail the receipt, and that receipt has to be recorded in the tally or in any software which is used by the accountants, and record of each and every transaction, even if it is tax, even if it is cash, or even if it is spent. So record every transaction, even if you have received cash, even if you have spent in cash, no problem, please record it. Because I will just give you an example. Before this Aadhaar came into compulsory, whatever we used to do in cash transaction, nobody used to know, even not even department, not even the family members. But now what has happened, this cash, when it comes to play, it has to be withdrawn somewhere. Somebody has to withdraw this cash somewhere, ATM, bank, somewhere. Then once they withdraw, now this PAN has been linked to Aadhaar. Aadhaar has been linked everywhere, even to our SIM cards. So once we withdraw cash, let's say that I have withdrawn cash from an ATM. So in my 26 years, it will pop up saying that on this day, on this time, I've withdrawn cash of 10,000. So there is a track with the income tax department from where I withdrawn the cash. At the same time, if I have spent it, fine, fair enough. If I'm not spent it, somewhere I have to deposit this cash or somewhere I have to give this cash. Usually, the income tax is what I've seen from past 3-4 months. They are sending notices to all the temples, church, mosques, because I have quite a few clients of temples and churches. I've seen everywhere they're getting notices under section 148 stating that concealment of income. What has happened, the churches and the temples who have received this cash, they went and deposited the same thing in the bank, but they have not recorded in the accounting statements. I mean, in tally. They have deposited this money in the bank, but they have not recorded in the tally. They are getting notice under 148 stating that you have concealed the income under section 148 and not shown the total income. And they are facing a lot of problems. It's not about the tax of 30% to be paid. It's about just once it starts, every year you get it. And every year, whoever was the accountant, the person who was signing the checks will be held responsible. That I would recommend to avoid. So try to record each and every transaction, especially if it is in cash. Then collect all the bills, invoices from the vendor and prepare the payment vouchers accordingly, signed by the person who has prepared this payment vouchers and countersigned by the person who has taken the money or the check, that is the vendor. Please make sure that you collect all the bills and invoices from the vendor, and make sure that it is first signed by the person who's giving the check or who has prepared the voucher, and countersigned by the person, other party, that is a vendor. And then I told you about the reports, budgeting, and all these things that has to be prepared and submitted to senior pastor, DS, finance committee, as and when requested and required. Accountant would be the first person for the cash and bank payment. So it's the accountant responsibility and the duty to maintain the payment and the receipt voucher in order. So that's what I told. Accountant is the first line of defense in finance. So anything goes wrong, we will ask the accountant only. But in the income tax point of view, accountant it is the person who's signing the checks. So usually it is the treasurer and the senior pastor who signs the checks. So for our understanding, everything is accountant, but for the income tax point of view, it is the senior pastor and the treasurer. And statutory compliances. So once you cross 50 lakhs, then TDS comes into picture. Once the employees of that specific church crosses 20 people, then ESI and PF comes into play. Then if the number of employees increases more than 3, then PT comes into play. So these are the statutory compliances which all the accountants have to follow. Usually PT is very common everywhere. Professional tax has to be, all the churches have to register profession tax, and yearly they have to pay this 2,500. TDS comes into play only when the turnover increases 50 lakhs, and PF and ESI comes into play only when the number of employee increases 20. And as I repeat again and again, accountant is the first line of responsibility. Then comes the senior pastor and the treasurer. Then comes the executive secretary. Then comes the district superintendent. Then comes the executive secretary, and lastly the conference members. So this is the line of responsibility. Usually the first point is the accountant. If the accountant are negligent or even ignorant to any misappropriation, then he or shall be responsible person for the misappropriation, and he or she will be held liable for the funds. Funds received towards a specific expenses has to be spent towards a specific project and not anything else. If spent towards other than the received project, then proper resolution has to be passed in the conference, because in the trust, usually what happens, if anybody gives a donation for a specific project, specific activity, it has to be spent for that. We cannot deviate the funds, that is as per the trust. So accountants has to make sure that if any donor gives any money for a specific fund, it has to be spent for that specific fund only, or not anything else. And for budgeting, while preparing the budget, the funds inflow has to be considered based on the moving average, which I gave example for the past 3 years. Because if you don't follow the moving average, then the budget doesn't have a base. So without a base, the budget is not proper. So this is accounting part, and basically accountant falls on the head of the accountant, then the senior pastor, then the treasurer, then the DRs, then the executive secretary, then the conference members. So any doubts in the accounting and statutory compliances, please let me know. I'll try to clear as much as possible.
Yeah. See, the thing is, unfortunately, in our Methodist Church system, pastors and accountants are not aware of many of the things that you are telling. So probably as DSS or our conference, we have to work on providing some formats in which they have to fill it and send. And we should slowly make this accounting and taxing and accordingly spending, accordingly calculating, and everything as a part of our culture. Yes. And now one question I have is, there are many independent churches.
Okay, sir.
They may have income from random sources, or even we also get some salaries. And then sometimes we also get some 5,000, 2,000, 10,000 for various other reasons, which goes into the account and goes out. So how do they calculate the tax and other things? And in our personal accounting, how should we do this? Is there any clue to just keep in mind?
Yes, sir. So if the churches are paying salaries to you, and if it is less than 5 lakhs, please don't bother deducting TDS. So till 5 lakhs, it's exempted. And there is a rebate under section 87. So till 5 lakhs, there is no question of deducting TDS. You can record it as salary. But at the same time, if the pastors receive money from the donors, not from the churches, that becomes not salary, that becomes honorarium, that becomes an allowance, that becomes a professional income. So while filing the return, my recommendation to all the pastors, not only pastors, anyone, if any income goes to the bank, if any income from any party other than non-relative, so like let's say, sir, I am a pastor, I have received 4 lakhs from a church, that is my salary. So I will show in my returns that as a salary. Till 5 lakhs, I have rebate, so I need not pay anything. But at the same time, by preaching or through a donor, he pays me some 50,000 or 1 lakh, that becomes a professional income. That is not salary. If it is coming into my bank account, it's always recommended that it has to be shown in the income tax. What happens whenever somebody pays money into my bank account? I'll just give you one example. Now, last year, who all filed the returns, they know that AIS is something newly the income tax has started, annual income statement, wherein it keeps the track of everything. Like, let's say that if I have a savings account, even in the savings account, what is the interest rate? The savings back interest. Previously, it was not there. From last assessment year, they started this one. The income tax is keeping a track of small of 50 rupees, 60 rupees of savings back interest. They're not leaving anything. And chances of they leaving this other income which we have received it from any other party, they are not going to let us. They will 200%, even not today. They have income tax have 8 years from the end of the assessment year to open any cases. So let's say that for 21-22 financial year, they have till 2031. So till the end of March 2031, they have the right to open the case. So it's very risky, and we would have forgotten that at that time what came, what went. But the income tax and the software which they're using right now, it keeps a track record of everything. And while filing the returns, also you can see in your annual income statement that who has paid you, how much they have paid you, on what date they have paid you. Everything is recorded. So my recommendation to all the pastors and everyone, before filing the returns, make sure that your income, what you're showing in your ITRs, let it be ITR 1 or ITR 4 or whatever ITRs, make sure you go back to your bank statements and check what is the income received. Go back to annual income statements and check what are the record the income tax has popped, means had a tab on, and confirm with your 26 A's what is the TDS which is deducted. Make sure all these three matches with your ITR. If any one is not matching, CPC has developed a software. That is the reason everybody are getting notices these days. If any if the difference of more than 1,000 rupees to what you have filed and what they are thinking that you should have filed, they will send notice within second. CPC automatically, it's an AI which the CPC is using. So they will send the notice. You get notices at 12:30, 1:30 in the night through mail. So my recommendation, please do not hide anything if it has come into the bank. Cash is a different case altogether. Even now, cash is a different case altogether. But if it is coming to the bank, please do not hide anything. If we have to pay any taxes, we'll pay the taxes. If we have any chances of deducting and do tax planning, we'll do the tax planning. My recommendation is not to hide anything from the income tax department from now onward, because income tax is becoming smarter and smarter day by day. Yes, they are collecting every information, every single information. Sir, you won't believe me. Even if you have gone to Sri Lanka, they have the details of it. Even if you have gone to Maldives, they have the details of it. That is the depth the income tax has gone now.
Now I have a problem.
Yes.
A lot of people give cash in my hand, or sometimes they send it through GPay.
Okay, sir.
Pay it to the church.
Okay, sir.
So per month, sometimes it has come even up to some 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. So I receive by GPay, and then I take a cash and then put it in the offering, and then take a receipt and give them.
So now, see, so that is a genuine case.
But how I will show that? How I will show that?
It's not your income at all.
Correct.
You need not show it at all, because you know for a fact you have received it from XYZ person for something else, not for your income. It is not your income at all. It is the income of the church. So you've received it. There is an inflow and there is an outflow. If there is only inflow and there is no outflow, then it becomes your income. If there is inflow and outflow, there is no problem.
Okay. So
even if you receive
my bank balance,
you can justify stating that I have received this. Yes,
my bank balance is increasing and then it is becoming a fatter, then it is a problem, right?
It's not like that, sir. It's like if you have received some, let's say that you have received 30,000 and you have not paid this 30,000, that becomes your income. If you have received 30,000, you have paid 30,000, there is no question. There is an inflow and outflow. You are just a medium. Instead of going through the bank, it has went through you. That is the only difference.
Okay.
But I would recommend try to avoid it, sir. Get a QR code for the bank itself. Get some mode of payment directly to the church through the bank. Let the donors pay directly to the church.
Now, supposing this year, some of the pastors are receiving donations from the families. because
Okay,
their
sir.
salary is not enough. Supposing every month they are getting some support from others, and then supposing, let us say, they are getting up to 50,000 or 1 lakh also, then at that time, will they have to show that as an income?
Sir, show the. I would recommend better show it as an income till 5 lakhs, sir. So till 5
Mm,
lakhs, the tax will be zero because they get rebate under 87A. So
mm,
tax is
mm.
zero. It's better to show, sir. And I would recommend it's always better to show because later,
Okay.
if anybody wants to go for a loan, at that
Mm.
time it's not like I could have shown like that. No, it's better to show anyway till 5 lakhs. There is no tax, even though they are not touching 5 lakhs. It's better to show. There is nothing wrong in them.
No, no, no. What I'm saying is their salary itself, it's coming up to 6 lakhs per year, 7 lakhs per year. And then
Okay.
they're supposing the cumulative income for the year from as donations or a family support goes up to 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs, which has now come to around 10 lakhs, let us say. Then the income should be shown as 10 lakhs, or only the salary income should be shown to the tax.
No, sir. Even the other income is an income, no, sir.
Oh,
It's purely paid for their profession only. That becomes professional income, not salaried income. But the
okay.
first part which they have received, the 5-6 lakhs, which is from the church, that becomes
Mm,
salaries,
okay.
which can be shown as salaries, and even they need not pay tax on. Just that we need to do a little bit of tax planning, so that
Mm,
can be avoided. Even the professional income also can be avoided, showing like let's
mm,
say that I have received 1 lakh as as professional fees, and this
mm,
1 lakhs I've utilized it for traveling, utilized it for my food expenses, utilized it for my what do you say, my books, my
mm,
literature work. I can
mm.
have to keep a track of all the bills, deduct from this 1 lakh, and then show the income. So
Okay.
professional income we can play around. Salary
Okay.
is something where we can't play around.
Exactly. All right. All right. This is applying even for the individuals also, not only pastors, even for
Everybody, sir.
civilians.
Everybody.
All right. All
Everybody.
right. All
Because income tax doesn't differentiate this, that they keep everybody as common. They say that if you have received any income and it stays with you, that becomes your income and pay taxes on.
So better in our group who all are attending this session today to consult their auditor at
Auditors,
least
correct, sir.
once. All right.
Because whatever comes into your
Hello.
bank,
Some question is coming. Anybody?
Yes, sir. Could you explain something about tax planning?
tax planning in regards to what kind of income, madam?
Personal income.
No, correct. Personal income is broadly divided into salary, business or profession, house property, capital gains, and other sources. So you're
Yes.
looking tax planning in which part, madam? Salary, business or profession,
No.
house property?
Now you said no that up to 5 lakhs there's no tax
No,
exempted. But
correct.
as pastor said, supporting some it exceeds more than 5 lakhs, or supposing it's coming to 7 lakhs or 8 lakhs. I mean, what are the ways like you can plan your investments so that you can
Okay.
Yeah.
like
What is
like
the
1
way
lakh?
of reducing your taxes? What is the
Yes.
way of reducing your taxes if your income is a random income and it is crossing some 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs individually, and how you can reduce the tax by playing around? That is
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yes.
it's
So
like that. That's what.
till 2 lakh 50, it is straightforward exempted by the department. And till 5 lakhs, if you go with the old regime, then there is no tax. You get the rebate till 5 lakhs. So let's keep a point where that anybody who earns an income till 5 lakhs, there is no tax. It's zero. And from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, that's where the tax planning comes into picture. From 10 lakhs and above, there is no use of doing any tax planning because they fall flat under 30%. So from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it's 20% is the tax slab under the old regime, and the new regime, it's 5%, 10%, it goes on. So from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it's what? Till 1,50,000, you can take the deduction under Chapter 6A, that is depositing in the FDs, tax exempted FDs, depositing in the PF, depositing the pension schemes, depositing the national pension schemes, depositing in the provident fund, public provident funds or the private provident funds. And then these are the Chapter 6A deductions. It can go up to 1,50,000. And house loan income, house loan. If you have any house if it is owned or if you have rented it. If you want to avoid the taxes, please take a loan on it. Not very big loan. Take only 10 lakhs. If you're falling under 10 lakh bracket, take a loan for renovation. Use that funds for renovation, maybe 1 or 2 lakhs in the balance. Utilize it for savings, or you can keep it on FD. So that whatever the EMI which you pay, that also becomes as a deduction in your hand. Then the third thing is the donations which you make, and make sure that the donation which you make to any churches has this 80G. 80G is a section wherein that you get a deduction that when you file your returns. Then you have life insurance. Then you have medical insurance. Then uh, these are the usual deductions which is applicable for individuals. Then other than this, then you can invest in mutual funds. Then a few mutual funds are tax exempted. So these are the ways we have to see that you fall under which category, and based on that, I can recommend this. What I've recommended now, it is a general. Anybody can use it. But when it comes to the specific tax planning, I have to see the sources of income. If it is a professional income, then I would recommend book expenses and reduce the income itself. If it is salaried, usually planning for salary is very tight. Professional, even if you are earning 40-50 lakhs, we can bring down the tax to 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, showing more expenses. But for salaries, we can't play around much. For professional and businesses, we can play around.
There are non-taxable expenses also, right?
Non-taxable income is there. There are few things which is not taxable, like pension, old age pension which is received, that is not taxed. There are few agriculture income which is not taxed. Then this capital gains, if it is not defined as capital asset, like for example, you have a car, sir. So you purchased a second-hand car. Let's say you purchased a second-hand car for 4 lakhs. And you're selling that car for after 1 year. For example, Innova, sir. Innova's has gone, the second-hand value of the car has gone up. So while purchasing the car, you purchased it for 4 lakhs. While selling, you're selling it for 6 lakhs. So you're making a profit of 2 lakhs. But it is not taxed, because as per Income Tax Act, it says that this personal belongings, except jewelry, is not a capital asset. So even though you made a profit of 2 lakhs, it is not taxed.
Okay.
So like this, few things are there, income tax, where then even though it is income in your hand, it is not taxed. Usually what high net worth individuals do, when they have agricultural land, they go to the local sub-registrar or the Tahsildar office and apply for this agriculture certificate that they are the cultivators. And once they get the certificate, in their return, they show that they have earned income through agriculture, even though they wouldn't have cultivated anything. So they try to avoid this other incomes into this. They try to put other incomes into this agriculture income, and they won't pay taxes. That is a way of tax planning. And years down the line, even the income tax department cannot keep a track of it. So what happens? They have already shown it in their income, so they can say that we are not hiding anything. So one of the major problems this Congress President D.K. Shivakumar is facing because of agriculture income. He has shown crores together in agriculture income wherein he has not cultivated anything. So there are ways of avoiding taxes, but just we have to make sure that based on the sources of income, we have to do the tax planning.
Individuals, for example, some personal evangelists are there, independent churches are there, or some housewives, they are making money. They are not saving, they are spending everything. But their income is 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs per year. So they themselves don't keep a track of how much is the income and how much is the expense, but all that they receive is coming to a total of 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs per year, and they have spent it also, most of the things. So should they also kind of follow a structure like this? Because in future it can become a liability or a problem.
Usually housewives, what I've seen in my home also, sir, they keep a track of everything, sir.
Okay.
They keep a track of everything. They don't, they don't, whatever they receive, they in a piece of paper, at least they'll write that I've received this money on this date, this money on this date, I've spent this money on this date. So they always keep a track of it. So my recommendation to those people is that better to file the returns, sir. Why? Because at the later stage, if they want to apply for a loan, this ITRs will help them, sir.
Okay.
The ITRs will help them like anything. It will be like a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
So if they show this ITR of 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, my recommendation, they will get it at least 15 to 20 lakhs of loan they'll get, sir.
Okay. Okay.
So it's always because loans are given based on ITRs and bank statement. It's better to file because we are not losing anything, sir, while filing ITR.
But while filing, they have to pay the taxes. No, that becomes a problem. No.
5 lakhs, anybody can file returns till 5 lakhs, no, sir. They need not pay anything.
Oh, okay.
So my recommendation to everyone, those who have crossed 18 years, because the minus what happens if you file the return, it becomes the income of the guardian or the parents. But if they cross 18 years, it's their own income. So try to put some money into their accounts, try to transfer some money to their account, not from your account, from the other sources, and while filing the return, show the incomes. Because later what happened, even though you have not shown your income the future coming years, in the past you can show that you have already shown that income. Like let's say that me, my wife and my son is 18 years and I am earning 15 lakhs and about 10 lakhs I don't want to pay 30% tax. So I tell my vendors to put it in my son's account. So they put it in my son's account. My son will raise the bill and give it to the vendors. So that 5 lakhs different. My income will only 10 lakhs. 5 lakhs I put it in my son's account. On that 5 lakhs, zero income. And if I want further income, I can put it in my wife's account saying that you put my money, my wife will raise the bill and give it to you. There 5 lakhs. So 10 lakhs of income into my family. And I'm not paying anything to the income tax department. I'm just doing the tax planning within my family itself. Okay. It's legally correct. I'm not saying it is illegal. It's legally correct. I'm just dividing the income.
All right. So that is one legal provision which we have to make use of.
Yes, sir. Because while billing and we have to keep a track of how much income we have earned this year, because right now it is hardly April, May. It wouldn't have crossed because this thing comes into play only in December, January, February of every year.
Thank you.
So it's better.
Ma'am, you have a question.
What is the income?
Yes, Pastor. Thank you. Mr. Vivek, this is Uma Johnson from Bethel Methodist Church. Yes. I have a question regarding the honorarium. We are paying the guest speakers every time we are paying 2,000 rupees. So is there a limit for the honorarium that, 1 year only we can do this much?
No, there is no limit, madam. As I told, honorarium becomes a part of professional, madam. It is not as salary unless there is an employer-employee relationship.
Okay.
Like let's say that I am working in your church and you're not paying me salary, you're paying only honorarium, then you have to deduct TDS. If for the whole year honorarium increases 30,000.
Okay.
And at the same time, if there is an employer-employee relationship between me and the church, this 10,000 is not considered as honorarium. This 10,000 will be considered as allowance.
Okay.
So that will go as salary.
Okay, thank you so much. No, this is only for outsiders. So for the church, there is no limit we can give, is it?
There is no limit, madam. It is as decided by the employer. Okay. Whoever is the employer, they have to decide what is the limit which you can give. But if you are giving it to the outsider, if it crosses 30,000, but this will come into play provided your income has crossed 50 lakhs.
Yeah, that is.
And all those things comes into play only if. I think you have applied for TAN, no, madam?
Yeah, TAN we haven't applied because we just got it. Actually, I have some doubt also. I told you,
So that it comes into play if there is no employer-employee relationship. Then if the total amount of honorarium increases 30 or more than 30,000, then TDS comes into play. There is no limit for paying anybody, madam. There is nobody is restricting that you should pay only this much. But if you pay any certain amount, then the TDS will come into play.
Okay. So at a time, is that okay? Can I pay in cash 2000? Is that okay?
I would always recommend avoid cash payments, madam. At least keep them a check, cross check, because cash, what happens, madam? Sometimes even the income tax department doesn't accept cash expenses.
Okay.
So if you are expensing cash of more than 10,000, they will disallow under section 44. So my recommendation is always try to avoid cash expenses unless it's very urgent.
Okay.
Because
The people,
nowadays,
they're coming from the different places, traveling, and they don't want to accept that time the check. Actually, then they need to go and deposit. So many times I've also asked them, can you give your account details so that I can even transfer, NEFT transfer, something like that. Some of them are not so sure about that, so they insist on cash. So that
why?
time,
Because they don't want to show into their books, madam. So that is something which they do. Because my recommendation is try to avoid it, madam. Please try to avoid it. Because it's, yes, on good grounds you're giving it, but I don't know when it will backfire. So try to avoid it.
What happens is sometimes, this poor evangelists and preachers come. They have, supposing if they are coming from a place, a different place, they had only, some 200, 300 rupees of cash in their hand to spend on the travel. They came here, and then while returning, they need some cash in their hand, at least, to take a bus and go back and have some expenses on the way. So sometimes this, when poor workers come, it works like this only, we prefer to, give some cash. So we make it, a blanket decision just to, give always cash only, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000 or
No,
3,000.
so that's fine, sir. But then when you're booking in your records, try to make sure that it doesn't cross 10,000 in the single day.
But we are taking vouchers and signatures, from them.
Yeah, sir. But paying cash, sir, cash expenses is not allowed more than 10,000 in the income tax. So what you do when you're paying cash, no, sir, try to put it in three or 4 days. It's like you've given 40,000 cash to some 10 people, 4,000 each. Try to put it 9,000, 9,000, 9,000 for 3-4 days. Don't put it in the same day. All the cash should not be on the same day.
Yeah, of course. We do that. We don't do it on the same day only, no. Supposing a preacher will come on one Sunday, another preacher will come on next month, another Sunday. So
No problem, sir.
That way cash is okay, right?
Yeah, that is fine, but it should not cross 10,000, sir. The income tax has given, previously it was 20, now they made it 10. So try to avoid it, make sure that it doesn't cross this 10. That's all, sir.
Yeah, 10,000, sir. You mean to say that 10,000 is per day or per month, or how is that, sir?
Per day, sir. Per day, madam. Per day.
Per day. Okay. I don't think, we do spend that much.
Yeah. I thought the 10,000 is for the whole year.
No, sir. Per day, sir. Per day.
Per day. That should be falling in place. That should not happen.
Yeah,
because
previously it was 20,000 per day. Now they reduced it to 10,000 per day.
No problem. Okay, thank you. And many of the things we are not getting the bill also, sir, for 30 rupees, 100 rupees every week we are
Madam,
spending.
that is all fine, madam. Like small auto travel, that is all fine. No problem whatsoever.
Okay.
My problem is when it crosses 1,000 rupees, no, madam. Because usually what happens is 30, 50, 100, 200, it is all genuine expenses. Like coffee, tea, that stationery expenses, pen, what 10 rupees, what the stationery fellow, his profit only will be 50 paisa. If he gives a bill, that 50 paisa goes in that bill only. So usually that is justifiable. But if it crosses 1,000, 2,000, then there is no bills. And even when there is no vouchers also, that is a problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pastor.
Is there a limit for vouchers, sir? So much only we can use for vouchers?
No, sir. No limits of whatsoever for the vouchers.
At least in the absence of bill, we can have vouchers and the phone numbers or a address card of the shop or something.
If it is a big amount,
All right.
Invoice with the vote.
Okay.
Because bigger the expenses, it's very difficult to explain, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now that so much has been told, and why don't you give just 2 minutes, maybe, or 2 or 3 minutes about auditing, and then just we can close. Maybe 2-3 minutes.
Audit. Yeah. Yes. Yes. About the audit, usually what we auditors do, sir, we look into the payments and receipts. We try to see there is proper invoice and proper bills. And if it is any major expenses, we go into the resolutions. Because this is a trust, everything is based on resolutions and minutes. If there is no minutes and no resolution, then we blindly give qualified report saying that there is some misappropriation. And when we, if the accounting is not followed, like proper accounting is not followed, if the TDS has been not deducted, that is the statutory compliances is not done, if the records have not kept, like proper bills, invoices are not kept in order, if the funds, if let's say the fund is received for XYZ activity and the funds is utilized for ABC activity, then we say that the funds is received for something and spent for something. We'll make a note of everything and we qualify the report. Usually what an auditor looks in every audit is proper bills, proper invoices, that compliances of as we call it as GAP, General Accepted Accounting Policies, and usually auditors, they don't prepare financial statements, so they don't prepare balance sheet, income, expenditure, and receipts of payments. The accountants prepare it. We just come and see is it correct or not, is it as per the GAP. So then we sign and go. That is accountants, everybody completely they depend on auditor. That is not good, sir. That is completely not good. Because why? Because even though while preparing the financials, even though auditors may have missed few points here and there, which they have maybe it didn't come to the notice while doing the audit. But while preparing the financial statements, every transaction goes through the eye of the auditor. They see each and every transaction, because every transaction, because while preparing financials, we have to look into it. There's no other way of it. So what happens? An auditor comes to know each transaction, because sir, you won't believe me. From past 5 years, you tell me any transaction in the conference, I know from where, who, what has done. Even in the involvements also, I know from where, what payment. Because when we do the financial statements, we see every transaction. So usually that is prepared by the accountant, because accountant knows, because they are the person who are entering each transaction in tally. They know everything. So it would be easy cakewalk for them. But when it comes to auditors, we have to see each transaction and then make the entries. So that time we know what transaction, what has happened, what is not there, what is coming in, what is going out. That is usually not recommended, sir. But I have told 1,000 times to everyone, nobody follows it. And I got used to it. So auditors, what we look into it, proper bills, proper invoices, statutory compliances, proper accounting policies like cash accounting or accrual, any both are fine. Then the one more thing, what we look at is resolutions and the minutes, and this is what we take from every churches where we do audit is the church senior pastor or the pastor or the treasurer has to sign the declaration of the utilization of funds. Like let's say that a church has received 40 lakhs and they have utilized only 20 lakhs. We take the declaration from the church stating that the balance 20 lakhs will be utilized for the objectives of the trust. Because if they have not utilized, then it becomes the income in the hands of the conference, and then there we have to set aside, and then that is a big headache. And one more thing, the audit has to be done before June 22nd. Usually it goes up till December, January of that year. So that is one of the biggest problem I face in the conference.
Probably we all need a surplus, very regular surplus. And
I always send this one to our David sir. David sir is always busy.
I know. No, otherwise it is going to very seriously reflect on our conference in the future.
Yeah, sir. Because what I do, because till now from past 4 or 5 years, we never cross the due dates. We always try to make sure that we file our returns before the due dates.
I'm going to sit with you one day personally and take all the complete details and at least, put it forward in my district. So if others follow
that is
something, somewhere, so to save ourselves, because Goa is a different state altogether with different and crucial laws here. So at least, to save myself and the churches here, we have to do it locally.
Yeah, sir. One thing, last year also I gave a letter to David, sir. The problems, problem the pastors will face, problem the accountants will face, problem the district superintendents will face if the returns is not filed. I
Okay.
prepared some 2.5 page letter and registered out what are the problems, what are the consequences the pastors everybody will face.
Correct.
And they keep this track from 1 month. What is the total income from whom we have received, from where we have received? One side of the page they keep all this track. On the other side of the page they keep the track of what all they have spent. And the opening balances as on 1st of May, add all this income, reduce all the expenses. What is the balance amount? Tally the same thing with the bank. And the difference amount would be the cash. That is what they do. The same thing can be followed for individuals also. It's very simple, sir. Total income we have earned for this month, total expenses for that month. What is the difference amount? So what happens if you keep it in Excel? Year end, you can see that how much you have spent for food, how much you have spent for travel, how much you have spent for your leisures, how much you have spent for any other expenses. Then you can keep a tab of everything. You can make sure that why you have spent on leisures more than the food, where your money is going. Then you can cut down that what are the expenses. So usually that's what everybody follows. Even that's what I follow. We keep a track of what is the inflow, what is the outflow, where I'm spending more. That is, I have a statement, sir. If you want, I'll share it with you. There is an inflow and outflow, and then there is a difference. I keep a track of like food, travel, leisures, entertainment, savings.
Okay.
So my policy, my work goes from bottom. So if I have earned 10,000, I'll make sure 40% goes for saving. The balance only goes for expenses. So usually that's how I work. So every month when the income comes in, let's say I've earned 10,000, 40,000 goes for saving. Balance 6,000 and keep it for other expenses, for food and everything. Usually that's how I do for individuals. For churches, it's a different case. First, it's from above. From salaries, it comes down.
Hope everybody was benefited by today's session, and it will be recorded and available. But it is more than following a recording. It is better to have a general sense of all these things for your personal and your professional and your ministry income expense concerns, and then better, to follow all these things in future. It will be helpful, as I have so told. If you follow all these things, supposing you are in a dire need to construct something, or you are in a need of taking a loan, the following these procedures will help you. Or in case you get into some problem, if you are ITR, if you have your tax paid vouchers with you, acknowledgements with you, it is going to help you a lot. And this is also one stewardship that we follow for the Church of God. And therefore, I'm sure that the students and the Christian leaders who attended this session were very greatly benefited. So from the bottom of our heart, on behalf of all of you, I thank Mr. Vivek for his very clear and very neat presentation in a simple language for us to understand, to bring down the whole subject into very simple terms. I really thank on all behalf of you, Mr. Vivek. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vivek. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Have a good day. And
Thank
once
you.
again,
Thank you, Pastor.